The Turbo 1UZ Lincoln LS is getting a little bit closer to running, so I thought I'd do a video update on some of the things I've done since the last time it ran, which was only briefly, which is, I believe, one of the last videos I posted of this, which at the time had the Autronic SM2 ECU in it, which decided to burn itself up inside the car. Luckily, it was contained within the ECU itself. So I scrapped that ECU just because parts were so hard to find. It was out of Australia. I know I've heard people love that ECU down there for what they run, but for this project, it was not working. So I went with something made domestically that works with a lot of the stuff that I'm running in the engine, which is going to be the MS3 Pro Ultimate. It's the generic outputs. It's not like anything prefab because there's so many unique things on this car. But it does work with quite a few of the things that I have on here. For example, the intake manifold or the throttle body is going to be off of a Chevy LS engine. They have a base map for that. The VW / Audi coil on plugs, they have a base map for that. So a lot of this stuff just right out of the box with that ECU. I should be able to put a quick tune on it. So since then, for those of you who don't know, this car was in a garage fire. The people 3 down from me were working on a car and decided to loosen a nut by putting a blowtorch on it, and it started their car on fire. Mine was the only car to make it out of a 8-car garage. The wall actually fell in on top of my car, and all the flames went up and out of there. But the hood was up, which caused all the paint to get fire suppression on it, or the chemical that they run through a fire truck through the hoses, what the water's mixed with, really did a number. Then on top of it, the car sat outside for a long time as I was got a new job, which required pretty much 100% of my time, along with having a younger son. There was not much time to work on this, so this car sat out in the elements for a very long time. There's a rat's nest or mouse nest down in the starter area, so I need to take the intake manifold off. Definitely going to check inside the engine, make sure nothing fell in there. However, what I'm running is the 7M GTE injectors, which I need to get flow tested, and is really going to be the only thing keeping me from starting this up this weekend. Everything has been pinned out for the ECU to every single connector. I'm going to be running a updated plugs on my Volvo fan because the one plug I had right here decided to disintegrate in my hand, and the other ones are not looking too good either, so that needs to be replugged. Finally got the correct outlet for my power steering cooler, which goes to the MR2 electric power steering pump. So that's about done. So that was another thing, is waiting to get buttoned up. Got the addition to the screamer pipe added, so the exhaust is not blowing directly onto the oil filter. One of the projects is going to be trying to see if I can actually adapt the stock steering wheel splines. It's going to be very close. The stock steering wheel splines onto the generic Ford adapter. I think it's 8653 or something like that. Because even after you press this down, put a washer on it, and press it down really well, it still has a little bit of play. So I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to cut the pattern out into the stock one and then cut the outside off and use the actual interior of the wheel as the adapter for my quick release, or if there's going to be a way that I can get the splined stock wheel into here somehow, press fit, welded. That remains to be seen, and I'm not good enough of a fabricator to know if that's even possible. Another update is going to be to the entire fuel system, which this runs a saddle tank with a Lincoln LS's run a jet pump over to one side, which pumps it out of one side. The Jaguar, which has the same tank setup, has a pump on each side. We screwed around with it. I then let this car sit way too long with ethanol-based fuel in it, which caused my fuel filters to turn to this. So what I did was thoroughly clean and drained all the fuel, junked the Walboro that was in there, which I had to hit with a hammer to even get working, which I used to siphon out into the gas cans. Cleaned everything out. I'm going to be running the Holley Hydromat setup. It goes into the tank. It will sit just about like this. Inside the tank, this is supposed to get every single drop of fuel possible. So this tank's been completely stripped out, but I get to retain the fuel sending unit on each side. I'm going to run dual one of these. So I'm going to run a return back, about 1 inch off of here is what they recommend. So I'm going to zip tie the return to the connector right there. That single connector will run a -6 over to the other side, where there will be a Y union -6 to -6, which will go into a -8. So this is going to be replaced with -8 coming out of this bulkhead. Again, retaining the stock fuel sending unit, so I will have accurate gas reading, which will be nice. This will run down to my inline fuel filter, or fuel pump and fuel filter, which will run up to the engine. That should hopefully alleviate the nightmare of fueling issues that will happen as I keep turning the boost up. A couple other little things on it. I know everybody asked me what wheels these are. These are Miro wheels. I forget what version they are. They primarily do VW wheels, but they were kind enough to re-drill these for me from the factory. And I'm pretty happy with them, but they might be a little bit skinny for the power I'll end up putting down. Here's the back seats that will eventually go into the rear. Low priority item right now. The trunk has been painted, and the Lincoln LS came with a rear mount battery from the factory, so this is already run back here. Get some spacers, some bolts through the bottom of this, and that will solve that. I'll have a nice rear battery set up. But besides that, it's a lot of little things right now just to get the connectors on. And for example, I don't need a quick release. I can throw the steering wheel on just to be able to drive it up and down the street, but it's getting very close to getting a base tune on it to be able to turn it over and hopefully not grenade itself or start on fire immediately, because between a flood, a theft, the initial drunken driving accident, which is the reason I got this car from the previous owner, what else? Flood, theft, 2 fires, because the ECU did start on fire too. Hopefully this car's bad luck is done, and I will be doing big smoky burnouts and hopefully attending drift events at some point in the future with it. Questions, comments on this, let me know. A lot of this stuff has been Frankensteined. I know on some of the other Engine Swap Depot did a write-up on this thing, which they never even talked to me about. They just did their own write-up. They got most of the stuff right. So you can find that. I might put a link in the description to the Engine Swap Depot to bring everybody up to speed. Everything else is going to be on the Ziptide website regarding this build. But hopefully within the next week or two, this will be a video of me doing a Big Smoky Burnout out of here.